What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Tiffany, hosting another peer review episode of the RXP podcast. Today, I am joined by my co-host, Matt.
What's going on?
And we are here to dish and gush and discuss Eternals.
I like that.
Now,
dish, gush, and discuss.
Yep, that's right. It's just the two of us today. Alex has chosen to wait to see Eternals until it hits the good old Disney Plus. He didn't understand the hype, and so he's gonna wait. And unfortunately, he's gonna edit this pod also. So we'll see what happens with.
And he's gonna get spoilers the entire way because he edits these.
Yeah, because you know what? This is another spoiler-filled review of Eternals because Matt and I need to be unleashed, okay? We saw a very late showing of Eternals. We saw a 9 p.m. showing. We got out of that theater at like 12:30.
Yeah.
We were delirious. In and out of the theater. So now we finally get to collaborate and discuss, and I'm so excited to hear more. Matt, tell me your thoughts. What did you love? Because we're all about positivity here today.
It's true.
What did you love about Eternals?
Listen, I think, going into Eternals, one, fantastic to be in the theater. And this was actually the first theater experience that has felt like a pre-COVID theater experience. I pulled up into the parking lot and I was like, this place is packed. Like, this place is packed. Yeah. So a bunch of us and our friends went, and you see this star-studded cast and you almost wonder, like, are they going to be able to shine? Are they going to be able to be like these fun characters or interesting characters? And I actually thought that for the most part, this star-studded cast was fantastic. Like, everything from Kumail Nanjiani to, why did I just forget Thena's name? Oh my gosh, Angelina Jolie. Yeah, like she's like the most famous actress in it. Even the guy that was in Train to Busan, the Korean actor, I cannot remember.
Lee.
Yeah, I can never remember his name. But like, this is top to finish was fantastic cast, and I thought that this was a really interesting part of the MCU. I feel like this was the one movie that I didn't actually feel was anywhere near any other movie. It's hard to describe it because I came in almost thinking this was going to be like a Guardians of the Galaxy tying into a much greater story. I think this will eventually tie into a greater story, but for me, I felt like this was the most separated MCU. And I mean that like in a good way, but it could be potentially in a bad way too once we, start going through the positives and negatives. But ultimately, I had a good time. I enjoyed it overall.
I agree with you. I thought the cast was great. I really, really dug the relationships between everybody. I thought that we got a decent amount of screen time for almost everyone. Which I thought was kind of nice. I mean, obviously some characters got a little bit more growth than others. The star-studded cast was great and their chemistry was pretty good. Some people had better chemistry than others.
That's very true.
But I'm gonna stay positive right now. I loved the time jumps between present day and past history. And every time we jumped back into the past, we were a little bit more towards the future, if that makes sense. We started like 5,000 BC, then 500 BC, then 200 AD, 1500 or whatever. I'm just making these numbers up. I don't remember. I've only seen the movie once. I can't wait to see it again. I don't know if I'll see it again in the theaters. But I really liked the use of time in this. So, which for me, I thought the pacing was pretty good. Like, I was being like, brought along on this journey, and I was here for it. And going back to kind of the relationships, I kind of felt like I bought that they were just like a makeshift family. And like they were like together in it, living together in various points, and like I felt it. Something that really shined for me were the interpersonal relationships with each of the characters as you kind of progress through the story. You know, like how some people kind of paired off and stuff, and you got a little bit more interactions. Like, I really liked how Cersei and Sprite were kind of like together in the beginning, and then you kind of saw that dynamic later. You know, getting Sprite and Kingo having their moment together. You know, like on the plane. Also, shout out to maybe my favorite character, Karun, Kingo's valet.
Excellent.
In the movie.
So good.
That character was a delight.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Like him and Kingo together were the levity that they needed in Eternals, because it did not feel like an MCU movie until they met Kingo, honestly. Like, they did not have the normal banter, the like jokingness. Like, it just wasn't flowing like an MCU movie. And having that valet be just like the star of the show, even to when he left, and like I felt like some emotion when he left and he said like, thank you for what you've done for humanity. I like thought that was well earned. Like, over the entire film, he's one of the only characters, and you know, this might be seeding into kind of my overall thoughts. 2.5 hours almost didn't seem like enough for these characters. I think they did as good as they could have. Like, I would say this is a positive. In 2.5 hours, I think they were able to successfully show these relationships and show the inner workings of this team with some backstory. But honestly, I think they needed more time. Like, I just don't think that there was enough time to make everyone shine as they should have. I think the people that did shine, like Cersei, I think was really great and like well put in. Phastos was great. Like showing, I think the reason for that was actually showing his relationship with his husband and his son. Like,
oh my God, precious.
Like, that showed
Jack.
There was a reason for him to fight for humanity. And almost like, I don't know if I saw that for anyone else. Like, even Cersei, who said that she was all about humanity, like, besides the flashbacks showing her like in Babylonian time or whatever time it was,
right.
I didn't really see that for many other of these Eternals. Honestly, and this might be a really hot take from the very beginning. Like, we're only like 8 minutes in, and I'm about to do a real hot take. I think that this movie would have been better as a Disney Plus show. I think changing this 2.5 hours to a 10 to 12 hours season, to where you could really delve into the backstory, the past, and then actually develop some sort of antagonist that was meaningful. Like, I think that my problem, because the more I thought about this, I came out of the theater. There were 5 of us watching it together. All 4 of you were like high on this movie from the very beginning. Like, you guys were talking great about it. I think you said something like, I don't know if this is like my top 5, but like, it's up there. And I was like, top 5? What are you talking about?
It's not in my top 5.
It's not. But you were pointing in a very like solid light. I almost was like, this is one of the worst ones at the beginning. The more I thought about the movie, the more I've like realized that actually it did pretty good. And I feel like time away from the movie has made me think of it in a more fond light. But I think a lot of my problems was that they just didn't, at the end of the day, they didn't have time. They didn't have time to show off all these characters the way that I want them to.
See, first of all, like, what? This is like literally the 26th MCU movie to have come out, right? So this did not crack my top 5. I don't know that it cracked my top 10, but there's 26 MCU movies that have come out. And so I think, first of all, the fact that, I mean, before I saw the movie, you know, Rotten Tomatoes had this movie at like a 55%. Like, there's no way that this movie is worse than The Hulk. There is no way that this movie is worse than Thor: The Dark World. I think this was a very solid movie. I really enjoyed myself throughout it. Yes, there were gripes that I have, right? Like, I'm not coming out of there saying like this was the perfect movie. You're right. there could have been more time built in to this. You know, I think my biggest gripe, honestly, was how quickly Icarus and Cersei just got down and dirty. You know, they're just like literally we see them on the Domo. The ship is called the Domo, which I love, right? And I like it because it makes it sound like languages adopted the word Domo, for their own languages. Like I think Italian's it might be a Duomo, is like church in Italian.
Okay.
Maybe. Don't quote me. I went to Italy a couple years ago, and I swear they use a word similar to that when I went to so many churches in Italy. Okay, anyway. So, you know, Icarus is like, my name is Icarus. And Cersei's like, my name is Cersei. And then like 15 minutes later, they're like on Earth, and they're like, you know, hanging out with the humans, trying to protect them from the deviants. And then like they're like taking a walk, and then Icarus is like, you're beautiful. Or he says, I am beautiful, which I thought was hilarious because he's trying to basically use the human language. And then Cersei's like, oh, you're learning the human language. And he's like, yeah, you know, I figured I need to if I want to spend more time with you. And then he looks at her and says, he uses the human language, and the quotation says, I am beautiful. And then Cersei's just staring at him like confused. And then he's like, what did I just say? And then she's like, you said I am beautiful, which I thought was actually adorable. Okay, right? So they're like in a sunset, they're having this moment. Next thing you know, they're having sex, and I literally was like, what's happening?
Yeah, like to me, it's like it's the first real sex scene in the MCU, and I'm just like, but why? Like, yes, we can have it, but why?
Like that juxtaposition was just it was just like so quick, and I'm like, but at the same time, like, okay, I can kind of see that being an important piece because like, you know, at the beginning, like was this scene after we met Dane Whitman and Cersei, or was this before?
I think it was after.
Yeah. So I understand that scene was there to tell the audience, like, Cersei had a relationship, right? Like, because we see Dane and Cersei, like, being adorable together and, like, you know, in love, kind of. And then, but the next scene is like, nope, Cersei had a boy for 5,000 years or so. Yeah. You know, to give that kind of storytelling piece. But yeah, I thought, but I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it.
Didn't buy
like,
what?
The relationship.
Well, like, I think it's because I honestly think that the two characters that had the worst chemistry in the entire film was Cersei and Icarus. Like, those two people.
Wow.
Like, they look like they were in, like, you know, just, I don't know, like some, like, play class. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing, what is it called? Like, improv. Like, they're
Role
doing
playing?
It's just like two people doing improv class because they were made to do it. You know what I mean? But then when you see, I'm like, oh gosh, like, I expected more. Like, I really like both of these, like, actors and actresses. Like, it's whatever. And then they cut to Kit Harington and
Dane Whitman.
Yeah, like, he and Cersei have fantastic chemistry. Where I'm like, all right, well, I guess it's Icarus' fault because Cersei definitely has the chemistry with old Jon Snow up past. You know nothing, Jon Snow, but man, you got it. You got it, man.
Well, so I guess I do agree that Cersei had more chemistry with Jon Snow than Robb Stark. But I don't know that Robb and Cersei had terrible chemistry. I just thought if we had more time to develop their, like, slow romance, I could have bought it a little bit more.
Exactly. I think we just needed more time because in my mind, yes, you can tell me that they had a relationship for 5,000 years, but all you gave me was 30 seconds. You know?
Seconds and a sex scene.
And it's the same, yeah. And the sex scene was, like, weird. Like, you're on, like, this rough rock. I'm like, oh, that's gotta hurt. Like, I don't know. At least put a blanket down. Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, Cersei can change matter. Why didn't she make things more comfortable?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But it's kind of like the same thing with her. She's supposed to be like the lover of humans. Like loves humanity. But all we got was like a 30 to 40-second montage of her helping out and like kneading bread and like doing things with these women from the past. And it's like, I think you're telling me a lot of things, but like I'm not seeing it. So in my mind, I'm not buying this relationship she has because I'm not being able to see it. I'm just being told that, oh yeah, she loves humans like she just does. But if you show me more of her with Kit Harington's character, like fantastic, do more of that, because that was believable. And then boom, he never comes back in the entire movie. Like he has like a FaceTime video, and then like he comes at the end, but that's about it. And I'm like, show me more. I don't know.
Can I tell you that I also loved that FaceTime video? It was literally just like Dane, the character Dane Whitman, just, finally, because he realizes that Cersei is an Eternal.
Yeah.
And he's just like, wait, were you King Midas? What else did you do in history? Like stuff like that. Because I love the historical nods.
Yes.
Throughout everything. Like, beautiful. So, you may not have bought Cersei and Icarus's relationship, though. Mm-hmm. Who were your favorite Eternal relationship? Or which Eternal relationship was your favorite? Or top?
I really liked the relationship between Gilgamesh and Thena. I think that was the best relationship because in my mind, it's really beautiful seeing how Thena was like the greatest warrior of all time. And she almost had like a dementia to where she like started just attacking her other Eternals. And it made me really sad because I feel like mental illness in the form of like dementia or Alzheimer's, like that is definitely very prevalent in my family. So I've seen that kind of happen in my own life, and it's really sad to see on screen. But it's really beautiful to see Gilgamesh, who is this strong warrior, kind of make the rest of his life on Earth be her caretaker. And I feel like that bond that they had, and like when they were talking about right before Gilgamesh died, which was probably the best moment of the entire movie, honestly, him dying for Thena was impactful because we were able to see this bond between them, that he would do it all over again. Like he would do it on the next world too. And to me, like that made it so beautiful because they did take the time to talk through that relationship with each other. That maybe some of the other ones, I think I would have loved Makari and Druig.
Oh, Druig,
I would love to see why they were so connected, but we just didn't get the time to see it. Like Kingo had probably the best line where he's like, is this a thing? I hate it. Like talking about those two, but it's like, that's honestly, that punchline was the best part of that relationship because we just didn't have the time to see them progress to that point.
I mean, that's fair. With Druid and Makari, though, we did see, like, in the weird, like, Stone Age or what, or not Stone Age, but, like, Castle Age, like, him and her having a conversation, like, about stealing versus mind control, which I guess that was supposed to be the seed of them, like, maybe having a connection, because they're like, we'll promise we won't tell on each other, right? And then we see them again because Druig was just so upset with the state of things that he left the group first.
Yeah.
Right? So he didn't have a chance to develop with and what was interesting to me is that Makari just kept herself separate,
isolated
from the group. Yeah, she was just like doing her own thing. To be honest though, I guess she could have hooked up, or like not hooked up, but like met up with any of their Eternals because she's so fast. So like, who's to say she didn't like pop in every once in a while and hang out? But in the movie we just saw her kind of be solo. And in terms of bringing her up, I loved the showcase of Makari's powers.
Yes, I was just about to say that. Like
her power and I think Thena's power like display are probably my favorite use of the cosmic energy that they had. Makari was just fast.
Yeah.
Just always fast. And I love that. And because I even reflect back onto other speedsters in media and a lot of other, X-Men, for example, with the newest version where X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men First Class, where they like slowed, the speedster was shown like half full speed and then half slow-mo, versus here Makari's just hundo P super fast, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I think the easy way to film is the way that they have shown other speedsters, between the Flash and between Quicksilver in the X-Men. I think seeing this, there was never a slow-mo. It was never, she is just a defense. She's just like making sure these citizens are out of the way. No, she was like kicking Icarus's butt all the way across that beach, like having all these sonic booms where she would just stop at once, which would cause this ripple effect to make Icarus go into a mountain. Like, that to me was like very beautiful. Like, that was showing just creativity to it all. And honestly, I really liked all the powers. I think some aren't as great as others, but like, I think that Makari just showed that combat as being fantastic. I think the combat in general was the highlight of this
movie.
Yeah, like Shang-Chi had great combat, and just in the same way, this had great combat. I think both of them, this Phase 4, I think Phase 4 is off to a great start because both of them are showing combat that's just like, it's almost like a dance. It's very choreographed, and like, I enjoyed every fight scene. They're few and far between, and you know, the enemies we could probably get into later, but I thought all of these showcased their powers in just like an interesting way. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, and I really liked the, like, kind of circling back to your discussion about Thena and Gilgamesh. I too really, really love that relationship, and I really loved, like, one of the notes being that Gilgamesh kind of very much turned into a homemaker, because like when we first meet up with him, he's freaking making a pie.
Yeah,
like he's making a pie, right? And then I loved at the very end when you basically saw Thena not understanding how to use a toaster. Like, you know, because Gilgamesh did everything. Like, it was really sad and sweet at the same time. And then also, you know, kind of like thinking about it, I loved how they each had kind of names for each other too. Because like I was just thinking about, like, Kingo would call Gilgamesh Gil. And like, you know, they just had little nicknames for each other.
It like showed they had that relationship for like 7,000 years.
Yeah, and you know, Kingo is calling Icarus boss, you know, the entire, you know, couple, that was really adorable. And then just all of them referring to each other as college friends was hilarious to me.
Yeah.
My friends from college, you know, not friends from work, my friends from college. So I thought that was really, like, basically their relationship really sold the movie to me. Like all of them as a big old family. I loved it.
So are we ready for the things we didn't like?
Yeah.
Okay. You sound very disappointed,
we kind of,
but
well, we hinted it. I mean, you know, when I griped about the relationship between Icarus and Cersei, but I mean, there's more that we didn't care for. So you go first.
I think, you know, you talked a little bit about pace. I think that the first half, like the slow burn, was nice. I enjoyed it. But it sped up towards the end, and I feel like it was way too fast. Like, I felt like the last third, I was like, what is happening? Like, everything was kind of happening all at once. I enjoyed the Icarus betrayal. I thought that was a turning point and made it interesting. Honestly, Icarus to me was probably the worst part of the movie for me. I think that was by design. You know, he didn't really have any sort of personality. I think that's why he didn't have as great chemistry. I think it was on purpose, because I do think he's a great actor. But I think he didn't have a lot of chemistry because he's almost like a robotic individual that's like loyalty above all else to this mission that he's known about for years. And like the reason why he like left Cersei was because he didn't want to lie to her. But like this almost robotic character, I bought it in a way, but I think that he just was a very lackluster antagonist. I think that they were building up the true enemy being the deviants, and like that alpha deviant that was like sucking everyone's soul and power. I was thinking he was going to be a whole lot bigger deal than some sideshow fight in a cave at the very end. And for Icarus to be the main antagonist, for him to just kind of like, all right, I can't kill you, and then fly into the sun, I'm like, what is this? Like, to me, they worked up the first half. I was like, this is fantastic. What could possibly go wrong for this to get the reviews they did at the very beginning? And I kind of see why at the end, because it just did not land the landing. I thought that Icarus's plan was meh, and I think that the kind of like catastrophic nature of the ending with the hand coming out was fantastic, but it just seemed like very rushed and put together very like loosely, to where it didn't make me feel satisfied about it. And honestly, like, I think a really good antagonist is what makes movies, like most Marvel movies are between a 7 and 8 in my mind, like a good to great. Those amazing movies like Black Panther, even like Shang-Chi was fantastic. Like, they all have a really believable antagonist, and I just don't think that they had that in my mind.
I think my biggest beef with Icarus is like the ending that he got. Like, I understand him being like a loyal soldier and him being burdened with knowledge of, like, you know, the birth of a celestial, but him flying into the sun just was so strange. Like, I mean, I reflect on a version where he, you know, can't imagine a world where he's failed, and that's why he killed himself. But at the same time, like, he loves Cersei so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did he also not forgive himself now that, because I'm like, couldn't you have now like just lived a life with Cersei? Or did he think that their minds were going to get erased anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I just didn't like Icarus dying.
Yeah.
I wanted him to kind of have to answer for his actions,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of make up for it, atone for it in some way. I don't know, but I just thought it was pretty strange. That was strange.
Him dying to the sun too was like, really? You're gonna name this character Icarus, and then he's gonna die in the sun? Like,
well, I mean, you know, they did talk about how Sprite was like making fun, or like made up that story about Icarus flying too close to the sun, yada yada. Like,
I feel like it could have been so much better if he like made Cersei do something to, like, you know, like giving himself up to Cersei and then her like make him into a tree. Like, anything could have been so much better and like made this meaningful, where it's like, the only way that you can kill the hive mind is through me, or some, you know, whatever, not hive mind, whatever it's called.
The Unimind.
Yeah, the only way
or
you
the
can
brainstorm.
use Unimind is like by me dying or whatever, and like gone that route. It just didn't seem meaningful, and it seemed almost like he could have killed Cersei, because he really could have. He could have killed Cersei, and he chose not to. So they won almost by default. Like, did you watch Naruto, right?
Yeah.
So like when Naruto, after the Chunin exams, Gaara saves Shikamaru. Is it Shikamaru? No, Gaara saves Rock Lee from fighting that sound ninja with the bones, like appendages and everything. And the only reason Gaara didn't die from that bone ninja was because that bone ninja like died of natural causes during the fight. Like, he like, his heart gave out or something, but like Gaara was like an inch away from death. And like, so in that mind, I was like, ah, man, like Gaara, like, he almost didn't earn that win because this dude had like a huge handicap on his side. And that's the exact same feeling I had for this, was that like the only reason that they won and Earth didn't die was because he chose not to. Like, that was the only time I saw like he actually did love Cersei, which is a testament to their relationship. But in my mind, it made the victory a little cheap.
I mean, I agree that this ending was a point of contention. Mm-hmm. So, like, I don't know. I don't even know what it could have been. I just didn't like that part. Icarus's part just really, I didn't like.
But, like, I feel like the last third was the one that was just so rushed together. I almost wish that they would have scrapped that and thought again, like, what else could we do with this? Because, I don't know. I feel like if you changed that last third, this could have changed from me. Like, I'm thinking, like, this is almost like a 6.5 to 7.5 range, right? In my mind. That could have been elevated easily to an 8 to 9 if they had just changed that ending and, like, made it more meaningful. And then also, in that same mind, the very end, when he just sucks the Eternals up to him, one, Celestials are scary. Like,
I gasped. I gasped a lot in this movie.
You did.
But, like, I
was 2 seats away from you. You did.
I gasped a lot. But when Arishem shows up in the freaking sky,
yeah,
and the ominous, like, boom, like, I was like, oh my gosh,
he just clears
he's
the
huge.
clouds and you see his face. Like, that to me was a fantastic shot. But also, I'm like, where'd they go? Like, they just went to some black hole.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I also didn't register that he took them with him.
Oh, okay.
Like when Arishem was holding them in his hand, it didn't register with me that they all disappeared. Like, I was just like, I don't know. I thought he, like, put them back and then, like, I didn't realize. Mm-hmm. But it was cemented once we saw the, like, scene with Thena, Makari, and Druig, like, saying, like, wait, why aren't they answering? Mm-hmm. Kind of thing. So, I also kind of didn't like what happened with Sprite. Okay. Like, when she, like, betrayed, Cersei, and then at the end, Cersei's like, I still have some energy left. I can turn you human. I'm like, why does she deserve that?
Yeah.
She literally stabbed you. You were literally stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
With a knife. How are you even still alive, Cersei?
Also, couldn't she, in my mind, this is the first thing that came to mind when she said that, was her problem is that she is a child. Could you use that energy and make her, like, 18 or something? Yeah. Like, come on. Let's think about this. Oh, do you want to become human so you'll die in, like, 60 years? Or, let's just change your look to 21. Like, I feel like if you have the power to make someone human, you have the power to, like, age them by 6 years. Come on, Cersei. Use that Unimind.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that part. Like, that should have been an option for her.
It should have been.
And also, was Sprite included in Arishem's, like...
No, it was only the 3 of them, which it means, like, I'm guessing it's just because Sprite isn't an Eternal anymore. Like, she's a human.
Okay. And when you said the 3, it was the 3 of them. I remember.
Fastus, Kingo, and Cersei.
Kingo and Cersei.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I, like, overall, I liked the movie, but you know what? I'm going to be real. Everyone I've talked to, I've literally said, I really like the movie. I've never used the word love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I loved Shang-Chi.
I love Shang-Chi,
too. I love Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
I have not uttered the phrase I loved Eternals, but I really liked it. You know?
Yeah.
I mean...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, it opens up with... Okay, so, looking to the future, right? We have our group kind of split up. We also only have some of our group because we lost a few along the way. I'm pretty happy with who's left. I'm really bummed about Gilgamesh, but I'm actually kind of happy that Thena survived. Okay, side note. Do you think she's cured of her mad weary? Because here's my speculation.
Okay.
When the deviant was sucking part of her, I think he took the part that she was glitching out. Like, I think Thena's cured.
Interesting.
Like, I think the guy took some of her cosmic energy, but took the energy that, like, maybe her older memories or whatever that, like, made her glitch out.
That'd be nice. I don't know if that's the case. Like, I think that she is, like, all these Eternals, we find out that they're just shell of people. That they just, like, they download their memories and then upload, like, just a new save file, and then they go about their business. But I think that Thena, or at least my interpretation, was that her shell is just corrupted. And, like, for whatever reason, it's just corrupted to where...
like a failed hard drive?
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's been used so many times
Yeah.
that it's just like...
It basically reminds me of the hard drives we have at work. Anyway, I think that, unfortunately, I think that's not going to be the last time that she has problems, which stinks because her combat is one of the most fluid and interesting combat styles, and she, like, keeps having these issues during combat. And I'm like, man, she's, like, the best person to watch, like, between her and Makari, like, fantastic. So I hope you're right. I hope your theory's right. But yeah, I enjoy the 3 that are left, and it'll be interesting, the 3 that are taken with Erisham. Like, I don't know where they're going to go. Like, are they going to run into someone else? Like, I don't know.
Okay, and also, what are your thoughts of Kingo straight up not being in that last battle?
I didn't like it because I really like Kumail Nanjiani's character. But looking back, it was like one of those, in the moment, I did not like it. Afterwards, thinking more about it, I think it was an interesting take. Like, because I, who am a huge fan of movies, watch a lot of movies, like, all the time, right? Okay. My mind was made up that when he left, he would actually be there. Like, they were, like, pinned down to the ground, and he would, like, shoot, you know, a deviant off their back or something. Pew, pew. You know what I mean? Like, he would come in as kind of like that second wind, that Helm's Deep moment where, like, Gandalf comes in to save the day, right? It didn't happen. And I'm kind of happy they didn't, because that would have been like a classic Hollywood trope that we've seen 1,000 times. That this way we're able to see that, you know what? He didn't agree with them about trying to get rid of the Celestial from coming about. Like, he believed in the same way Icarus did, but he didn't believe so strongly that he would kill his friends. And, like, to me, I respect that, because it's like, you know, you can have these beliefs, but you don't have to, like, go to violence for them. And I feel like he said that and walked away, and he's like, you know what? I don't agree with you guys, but I'm not going to fight you guys. And to me, that showed a lot about Kingo as a character. It also was just kind of sad, though, because he's, like, going with his valet, and he's basically telling his valet, he's like, yeah, like, I'd sacrifice you guys, you know, for the greater good. And his, like, valet's like, thank you, sir. You know, like, just he's, like, fantastic. But so in my mind, I think it was good overall that he didn't show up.
Yeah, I just, like, when I think more about it, I appreciated a different viewpoint. Like, a different, like, it's not like, you know, side A fighting side B. Like, he was a side C. So, like, I appreciated that. And to be honest, when the movie was happening, I completely forgot about him. Like, I didn't even expect him to pop out of nowhere. I just was like, oh my gosh, so much is happening. Makari's finally got screen time. Like, oh my God, is Druid gone? Like, you know, I'm just, like, watching everything happening and all that. I am really excited to see how they interact with other people, like, in the future, like, future characters. Like, that's really interesting to me. Like, are any of them going to show up in the Marvels? Probably not, but it's in space. Like, I feel like space is a frontier that has so many opportunities now.
I think it's good for the MCU to have them split up a little bit in these, like, groups of 3, because I do think the Eternals together, they barely had enough time to really develop themselves. But introducing 3 of them at a time, say, like, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 happens, we already know that Adam Warlock is going to be in that movie. So he has, like, a lot of these similar timelines as the Eternals. Like, the 3 that are in space, to just, like, run into them would be more meaningful than, like, oh, here we are in our Duomo, like, all 8 of us, like, we are going to just flood the screen with personality. So I think it's for the best. I'm honestly unsure how I feel about, like, an Eternals 2. Like, I don't know where this leaves us there. I am more interested in Kit Harington's character because I think that was the most underutilized character in the entire movie, because he plays Black Knight, which they had like Excalibur like shown off. I was like, this is it. He's going to like have some like sword fighting on Earth like during like all this chaos. We never, he showed up with a scarf at the end, like looking dapper as always, but like he wasn't the Black Knight. He was just Dane. And then his like post-credit scene, which like you were speculating at the movie theater that was Blade, but I saw some reports that the director actually confirmed that it was Blade, which is fantastic. Okay. So like that makes me think, are they going to try to do like almost like a Midnight Suns reboot, like which has had Blade, like we have that video game that's coming out which has Blade in it. Like I know that the Moon Knight that's coming out, which I could see Blade being in. I've heard a lot of thoughts that he's going to be in Moon Knight. So could Kit Harington be there too? Like, I think Kit Harington needs some time to shine. So I'm more interested in that storyline than any of the Eternal storylines. And I think that says a lot about the film. Because I feel
wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I'm interested in seeing something new from this. And I don't know if the Eternals are all going to be together. Like, I just don't know where this leads us. Like, what do you do against a Celestial that makes suns? Like, how do you kill that? But also, like, nowhere in Guardians of the Galaxy, isn't that a severed head of a Celestial?
Yes.
So they're not completely, like, powerful. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe this will be something interesting down the line.
I am just utterly confused with the utilization of Kit Harington character, like Dane Whitman. Like, I didn't really understand his introduction or point. Like, it was... I feel like the movie could have not had him and it would have been the same.
Yeah.
It would have just been Cersei living her own life at that point. Like, I don't know. Like, was it to show us that Cersei moved on? I don't really... Is it a character that to be intimate enough to, like, ask crazy questions? Mm-hmm. Like, kind of like Ned asking Spidey boy, like, do you spit venom? Do you crawl on the walls? Do you lay eggs? Like, like that, like, was the whole point of his character just to be that? Because I don't know that we needed that.
I don't know. We could have had... If you take him away, I don't know if you see her as that lover of humanity as much as they proclaim her to be. Like, I feel like her connection with humanity and Fasta's humanity take are so much greater because they actually have life in Earth.
Relationships.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think without it, it would have been a detriment to Cersei's character, honestly. I don't know if it had to be Dane Whitman, though. I think it could have easily been anyone else. I don't know anything about the Eternals comic book line, so
yeah, me neither.
I don't know if that actually happens in the comic book. Maybe it does. I don't know.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the future. I agree that I don't know that they'll necessarily have an Eternals 2, but I'd welcome another crack at it. Mm-hmm. But so, like, at the end of the day, Matt, do you recommend watching Eternals?
See, that's an interesting question because I've already said, like, this is a good film. I feel like where it ranks for me is in the lower half of MCU movies. So somewhere between 14 and 26. I don't think it's 26. I don't think it's the worst movie in the MCU. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's like near those like later Iron Man, like Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, which are pretty low in my book. That being said, I still recommend all MCU films because I feel like for this, I recommend it not for this movie alone, but for the implications that I know will be there. Like, MCU, we may not see how important this movie is until like 5 years from now. Like phase 5, we may not know what like foundation framework that this movie set for us. I would say I think that Alex has a good thought on it. I don't recommend to go see it in the movies. Like if you don't have a chance, hey, do you know, watch it on Disney Plus. Like I don't think there's nothing about this that says you need to watch this right away. Like there's nothing so, I guess, special about this movie that you have to see it as soon as it comes out. I would say very different things about Shang-Chi, because I feel like Shang-Chi was something special. Like I wanted everyone to experience that as soon as possible. Eternals, it was good. It was a good movie. You should definitely watch it to continue the storyline, but it's nothing to like rush to the theaters to see. I do think the grandiose plan of it all and like how great this epic was, like, does benefit from being on a big screen with a lot of great sound effects in the theater. So like if you're after that, go for it. But for me, this is a lower tier for me, just personally, that says, hey, check it out on Disney Plus.
Wow, that's wild to me. I mean, because honestly, I feel like for the Celestials alone, I thought seeing it in the theater was beautiful. Like this, like the way they did Celestials was so amazing to me that I could understand how they could do Galactus if Galactus ever showed up in the MCU. Like the like CG artistry in that was amazing. I recommend this movie. I think it's a solid movie. I think it has a brand new set of characters that people will fall in love with. I think it's worth a watch. I kind of am leaning towards the theater, mainly, like I said, because of the visuals being so amazing and the music was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think, well, I don't actually know who the composer was, but like I thought it was such a good theater experience. Just see it, you know, it was a long movie. You gotta buckle up. I like went to the bathroom like 18 times before I even went to the theater because I was so afraid that I have to go. Like, you know, I didn't want to have any reason to get out of my seat during the movie. But I thought that it had a decent story, and it just had a cast of characters that individually and many of them in separate relationships was such a delight to watch that I recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this, but I kind of agree with you though, Matt. This is a middle of the pack movie for me. Like maybe between 13 and 19 or something. I don't know. I need some website to come out with a ranking list.
Yeah.
Help me again. You know, the ones that were like, choose which movie you want to watch right now. I need that. That's what I need to help rank this movie. But, you know, there you have it. We've discussed Eternals. Matt had a hot take. I was not as overwhelmed with emotion with this movie as I am with a lot of other MCU films. So, I mean, that in itself might be a telltale sign. I don't know. But this was our peer review. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you go out and see Returnals, please tell us your thoughts. Tweet at us at RXP_podcast or email us at rxp.podcasts@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your hot takes. And then hopefully soon Alex will watch this movie in 3 or 4 months whenever it's out on Disney Plus. And he can tell you his takes then. With that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks. Oh, and enjoy Shang-Chi on Disney Plus.